All right. Hello, all you wild Saturday night creatures out there. Um, Basically coming from the living room. I'm a little punchy as it is. Been going since 4:30 this morning. The live show has started at 9:45, March 25th, 2023. And today I went out and hit two comic book conventions. Ended up being about a 12-hour day, which was fun. That included food and little stops here and there. One was the Hillsville, Virginia, Hillsville Comic and Toy Show, I think is what it was called. And then me and a buddy of mine, we hit the road again and made it to the Roanoke Vintage Comic Con or something like that that was going on. Roanoke Comic Con in Roanoke, Virginia. We also got to eat a burger in the square for you Roanoke people. You know what I'm talking about. Better than Five Guys any day of the week. And then also hit a game store that my buddy showed me, and big shout out to Josh for doing the driving today, and then also to Anthony out there if you're watching, a guy who recognized my voice at the comic show and asked if I was Howler Mouse, which was kind of cool. So anyway, we went out there. Both shows were fun. I hit a bunch of $2 boxes, a bunch of dollar boxes, got a lot of cool stuff, and was pretty happy with what I found. Didn't really go after the big key books. I've had a good run this month with Moon Knight keys and that Miracle Man key book that I found for great prices, great trades, and everything else in between. So this was just sort of fun, okay? And I got to tell you, man, it's I didn't realize going to these things for years with the same vendors out there. um, I'll explain, Eric Breen. There's this auction going on, man, that I did not know about. But yeah, Eric Breen streaming while working an auction. And yet you have time to check in here. That's pretty cool, man. That's a whole new Breen out there. But anyway, basically, this live stream is going on tonight on Saturday instead of Sunday morning, like a rainy day show, because it has been raining. Because I am punchy, been up since 4:30. Figured I'd come home, crash, eat, all that stuff. Not happening. So I'm probably going to end up sleeping in the morning and probably hitting the gym and stuff. Hopefully, I can make it Wednesday, and we'll see what happens there for the Fossil Show. For you guys that don't know, before I get to the books, go to Graphic Man channel. He does a Wednesday show with the fossils. Fossils are people who are seasoned comic book collectors for decades and stuff, right? Oh man. No, I did not see any Niobe there, Nobi. But anyway, we went out, had a great time, a lot of cool things going on. But the community that's in this area with all the vendors, Chris Garby, who runs the show, the both Randys, a guy named Robert. People were texting back and forth at both shows, letting people know how the shows were doing. Saw Simply Incredible podcast there, who's wanting me to come on his invited me to come onto his channel next month at some point. Saw 2-3 other people. I think we're getting back to normal after 3 years of weirdness from the 2020 fiasco that will not be named and stuff, where the whole world shut down and stuff. I think we're getting back to it and stuff, man. So it was just fun today, right? So we're going to show a few things. And before I get into the comics and stuff, we stopped at a game store that Josh out there, my buddy who took us out there, really surprised me because the lingo, right? The language of home gaming and things like that, of gaming, vintage gaming. I know there's other terms for it, but this is where you do the Nintendos, the N64, the PlayStations 1 through 5, everything like that, vintage gaming and everything like that. I recently went through a closet downstairs and found a whole bunch of PlayStation and PlayStation 2 games I thought I got rid of and stuff, right? I have a Nintendo. I have a Super Nintendo. I have a PlayStation 2. Would love to get an N64 one day and stuff, right? But when I found the PlayStation games, I luckily ran across for a great price a PlayStation 2. But now when they do these, the consoles come with one controller. And I was refusing to pay $50 online. This fantastic store, the Tech Exchange, I think it's what it is. That might be the brand. I don't know. I got the receipt here somewhere. But anyway, in Roanoke, this great gaming store had the original for $25. I was only paid between 20 and 25. But apparently the lingo, I love how the lingo, they have their own language and stuff, has evolved. If you want original gaming equipment, you have to ask for OEM. I thought this was very cool. I love feeling like a stranger in a strange land sometimes because I'm a people watcher to begin with, right? And I just love how this stuff has evolved because at my age, I feel like I was at the beginning, maybe just a little bit after the beginning. Okay. Pinball machines. That was the big thing when I was a kid, right? And Pong had been around, but in the 70s in the small towns, that stuff spread slowly, nothing like things do today. And then it was Pong in the house. And then it was Space Invaders. And then I saw the rise of the arcades. And I saw the your mom and pop gas stations and little stores and the lobbies in your grocery stores and things. Everybody were getting video games and stuff, right? Then we had the arcade proper and pool halls and stuff that had already been around and things merging. 80s was awesome because there was like 80 pool, we counted them up, 80 pool tables in the town I grew up in, probably something like 20 to 25 pinball machines at any one time, and an arcade called Black Gold Mine. Up the road at the Claypool Hill Mall, we had another arcade going, and they had air hockey and things, and then had the Atari 2600. Rich people had the Atari 5200 and the ColecoVision, and then Nintendo hit. And from there, it just went on, and down went the arcades and things like that. So to see that the vintage gaming is coming in and the consoles and stuff, they had Wii's for $50 on sales. Things I sold a Wii back in I think I got rid of my Wii in 2017. So to see that this stuff has been going for 50 years is just amazing to me, right? Okay, so let's get to the comics now that I've talked about that, right? Oh, yeah. And also for $1, ended up getting the Treehouse of Horror DVD that has 1, 2, 3, 4 episodes. When it comes to The Simpsons, I will watch Treehouse of Horror all day long. This may be what I try to go to sleep to tonight. It has Treehouse of Horror 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which has the classic The Shining on it, which I thought was hilarious when it came on. Okay, so the most expensive thing I bought today for $5 was Epic Magazine number 8, Epic Illustrated number 8. I now need number 25. I will also need to get maybe an upgrade at some point because when I got this home, it does have a slight smell of mildew, and that just will not go into the magazine boxes and stuff, right? But this is fantastic. If you haven't checked out Epic Illustrated, you really need to. This stuff will not be reprinted as is because the people who worked on these stories, a lot of them own the rights. Rick Veitch, Alan Moore, all kinds of people. For example, with this issue, we have Arthur Pseudonym, Tim Conrad, Trina Robbins, Jim Starlin, Charles Vess, and I saved a page in this, right? And this was like sort of their answer to heavy metal, which was bringing European comic strips over here, Mobius, guys like that. But they have little things in here like a fantasy package, and they talk about portfolios that were coming out. This is like 1981. Yeah, 1981. And there was portfolios coming up that had Neil Adams art, John Buscema, Howard Chaykin, Tim Conrad, Corbin, Dean, Eisner, Frazetta, la, and you get samples of this. And here's a beautiful, if it's going to show up with this light, beautiful illustrated 1978 Bernie Wrightson Frankenstein page. That's his laboratory. Frankenstein on the table, Frankenstein's monster, Dr. Frankenstein looking down on him, and just all of these medieval looking contraptions and vials and things like that in the lab. It's just fantastic. So you get all kinds of cool art in here. Great sci-fi, color, black and white, just everything in here. So I think there was 34, 35, 36 issues. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. They came out quarterly throughout the 80s. And now I just need number 25, and I have a complete set, which is awesome, right? Okay, so what do we got here? So we're going to show you some of the $2 books with a mix of dollar books. I ended up getting a great bargain on these. So I didn't pay full price as always. I was able to talk to the guy a little bit. So here we go. See if we can get these books shown. Yes, that is a Spawn number 14. Luckily, at the dawn of the 90s and stuff, right when Valiant was hitting, Unity was hitting, the death of Superman and things, I was actually working at Hardee's from 3 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon as the outside guy before they started bringing me in on Saturday nights to make biscuits and just clean chicken vats and stuff. But I was also working after that in a comic book shop, and I think I would get there about 3:30 and stay till about 9. We closed at 9, and I stay there between 9 and 10. Yes, I was able to do that back then, plus do some college classes, community college, guys. Anyway, so I was right there for the cusp of a lot of this stuff, and I had Spawn 1 through 50. That's pretty much where I quit. Then I got rid of a bunch of them and decided to keep the first 25 issues. And for some reason, issue 14 and issue 20 were stolen from me. I know what happened. Somebody cherry picked through my collection and took things that they needed. And for some reason, they needed number 14, which is probably because it has the second appearance of Medieval Spawn in it. I hope the lighting's doing all right in here. So anyway, this was, I found this. I was like, yeah, we'll just plug that hole up. And that's what a lot of this is. There are some keys in there, right? I will pick up Labyrinth all day long. I still need the Marvel Super Special magazine where they did the adaptation of the movie. But what hit the newsstands was a 3-issue limited series. And yeah, the limited series, it's because of Labyrinth fans, Jim Henson fans, probably mostly David Bowie fans. These can be very hard to track down and find, and sometimes they are a little pricey. It amazes me. So yeah, I will pick these up all day long when I see them. This is number 2 of 3. And yeah, that is Jared, played by David Bowie, drawn by John Buscema, right there. Now, this was a very cool find, right? I actually kind of wish more people were watching so I can talk about this, right? But this is from 1977, I believe, Quack Magazine. And it is an underground comic with guys like Scott Shaw, that movie, and Sergio Aragonis. The Rabbit Wonder by Sergio Aragonis and Steve Loyola. And then, like I said, there's a Scott Shaw. Scott Shaw ended up doing Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew and a few other animal books and things like that. I met Scott Shaw. He was a Cali boy, California hippie who he and a bunch of his buddies would, while they were either in comics or trying to break into comics, would go visit Kirby and interrupt him while he was trying to do his Fourth World stuff. But this is fantastic. I've never seen this side of Sergio Aragonis. This is definitely not for kids, and it is underground. It's an underground comic from the 70s, right? So I would imagine a lot of marijuana smoking was going on. These are fantastic. These comic readers, okay, fantastic stuff, man. These are from 1980, and apparently this comic reader magazine series, which was sort of like a fanzine with comic book news and stuff in it, they've been fantastic that I've been flipping through them. I've got 3 issues here. They're from 1980, maybe 81. And they give you the top 100 comics that were sold. Marvel dominated, probably like the first 15 spots. And the 2 highest selling DC books, and this really surprised me, of like 1980 for these months, were Warlord, followed by Legion of Superheroes. Yeah. And then later on in another one of these issues, apparently I don't have the month that Marv Wolfman and George Perez's New Teen Titans started out, but New Teen Titans number 2 became the number 1 selling book. So it did hit hard when it came out. It finally put DC back on the top 10, if you will, right? So these are just fantastic, right? And what is really cool is some of the artwork on the back. There is very early artwork in this one in particular by Mr. Mike Mignola. He also did the back cover, but it's very wild to see this side of Mike Mignola doing this art, man. It's very, Bill Willingham like, very rubbery and fluid and stuff. There's all kinds of little drawings he did of superheroes in this, right? But these are fantastic. Actually, I would highly recommend them. And then we get into some Marvel key books here that I've gotten, right? Some of these are upgrades, some of these are buying back things I've gotten rid of over the years and stuff, right? But yeah, there is the Thor frog, man. I will buy these all day long. I think this is a fantastic story. I have many of these. I bought this when it came out. Okay, cool, man. We got Warsmith Scotty there. Well, how you doing, buddy? So anyway, yeah, we got a chapter of Thor, Battle of Thor, and then these are kind of big, I guess, or they were for 5 minutes because they have the time variance authority in them. And I love these books. These two I want to show you because Justice Peace is a tongue-in-cheek ode to Judge Dredd. So I will get anything from Judge Dredd, and these are from 1986, I believe. Yeah. So Walt Simonson brought in a character called Justice Peace, who is, like I said, an ode to Judge Dredd. And this is when Judge Dredd was really starting to be known in America, from what I remember, all thanks to Anthrax Among the Living album, where they had gone and toured Europe, of course, and they discovered 2000 AD and Judge Dredd books. They wrote a song called I Am the Law. And then all of a sudden, if you were in the metal community back then, I hate using the word community. If you were into metal music back then, listening to that stuff, much like I was, you started like discovering Judge Dredd. So right on it, Walt Simonson's on it. Captain America 327, old super patriot there who would become Captain America while Captain America became the captain, and then the captain would become Captain America again, and he would take the captain costume and become U.S. agent. And now, thanks to the Marvel TV shows and whatnot and all this stuff, we have a U.S. agent out there, and it's cracking me up about the Thunderbolts show coming out. I don't watch this stuff, but I saw people going nuts over the first couple appearances of the Thunderbolts when the TV show was, if you compare it to the comic, they are Thunderbolts in name only. None of those characters are in the Thunderbolts. So anyway, this is 327, second appearance of Super Patriot there, Johnny Walker, or whatever his name was, and his first cover appearance. If you want to go and do some reaching to make it a key, first cover appearance. Yeah, I just had the run back in the day, and I sold them to my brother. That was in a huge Thor run. Okay, first appearance of a couple characters, and first appearance of the new Bucky, who would actually end up. Man, what happened? I can't remember what his superhero name. In about 4 or 5 issues, he would have another identity. Wouldn't be Bucky anymore. And then this one cracked me up when it sort of got big, basically because of the Captain America Civil War movie and stuff. But Iron Man versus the Captain here. Old Steve Rogers there, Tony and Steve going at it. You know what I mean? That's what you do with your buddies. You just kind of get pissed off and you decide to start trying to beat the hell out of each other. It's amazing, superhero world. And then this cracks me up. I was with X Factor from the beginning. I still have it. Defenders 152, the Fantastic Four and Avengers crossover that happened where they kind of made you think that Adam Warlock was coming back, and it was really Jean Grey. And it was based off a story that Kurt Busiek had pitched, because Jim Shooter said the only way Jean Grey could come back after dying is if it was a story that made it sound possible. And it was old Kurt Busiek who ended up coming with that plot. And then they ended up going into X Factor, started looking like, when they started out, they had 2 secret identities. They posed as Ghostbusters, but they were mutant hunters. They looked a lot like Ghostbusters with blue costumes. And then turns out they had their own little identity and stuff going on here as superheroes secretly and stuff. And they changed all that when Louise Simonson came on the book and started writing, and Walt Simonson, her husband, started doing the artwork and got rid of a lot of that stuff. But what they did keep on was they had a guy who was sort of like their Alfred, their Jarvis, if you will, but it was all business-like, their handler or whatever. I think his name was Cameron Hodge or something. I can't remember. I don't know. I'm punchy. I've been up since 4:30. But what cracked me up is while I was, sticking in, I stuck in around the first 40 issues of X Factor, sold them also to my brother. I think it's who I sold them to, or maybe on eBay, but I started getting them back. I kept, not, I kept the good issues, don't get me wrong. But I picked this up. But when you read this, the letter column would crack you up because people hated this character. They were convinced there was something going on with him when there wasn't. He was just, he just had a role. He was just a supporting character. So they just gave in and made him a bad guy. People hated him so much they just went ahead and made him a bad guy. I mean, there you go. Give the people what they want. So yeah, just filling in some runs here on X Factor. Nothing too big. I'm sure some of these are keys. I think this one of these has a cameo of Archangel before his actual debut, and all that stuff, right? But just good stuff from back in the day. This is the issue that eluded me. I don't even know why this has been so hard to find. And then we have this. If you watch the channel and you watch the shows and everything like that, I kind of laughed when I found this for $1, and I found another issue of West Coast Avengers with Moon Knight on it. And I just sort of laughed because this is the one that was considered a key there, because he joins the Avengers in this one. It's kind of ruined by the cover there. And a couple issues later, he's on another cover. Well, that one was mint, and the key book was beat up. And I thought that was so funny. Well, I found a replacement for $1. And I remember I read this. I was reading this when this was not on the newsstands, but whenever I would get out of town, I would pick up a couple issues here and there. Loved what they were doing with Master Pandemonium. Couldn't handle the Al Milgrom art, but Steve Eaglehart was doing some stuff in this book. And it cracks me up because he basically wrote Moon Knight as Batman. It was hilarious. I was like laughing as I was reading it. So it cracks me up that with the Moon Knight show, everybody was like, I can't afford the big keys and the first appearance and the Marvel Spotlight and things like that. So let's go digging. They're like, here's where he joined the Avengers. That's a key. That's a book. So there you go. Moving on. These are dollar books. And I got these from two different vendors in Roanoke at the Roanoke Comic Con. And one guy gave me a deal. One person didn't. It was like, hey, these are only $1 a piece. I can't, even though you're going to buy a lot. So I ended up shrinking it down into half of what I was going to buy. There you go. Click for more layouts or manage your settings. We will do that later. All right, so this is an upgrade, but when I was a kid, a wee lad, discovering the Fantastic Four was so much fun and such a big part of me becoming a comic book lover because the stepdad had Fantastic Four books all over the place. We had Kirby. For you guys, the first appearance of him, Adam Warlock, if you know the book, it has a white cover. It has a cocoon, a very gross looking cocoon, very fleshy, right on the cover. Some characters around it from the Fantastic Four. And Kirby scared the hell out of me, and I actually took crayons to it. I colored in that white cover, made it beautiful, But anyway, I had this book was in the house, this whole storyline. I absolutely loved it as a kid. I had a Marvel Treasury edition that told the story of the coming of Airwalker, the new Herald of Galactus. Absolutely love it. Have those issues now. And you had a Fantastic Four cartoon. And then as the years went by, you had a Thing cartoon. Then you had the Thing Meets the Shmoo cartoon. Thing Ring, do your thing. It was hilarious, right? Good time to be a Fantastic Four fan. And one of my favorite issues, one of my favorite stories of them, right? Then you have Untold Tales of Spider-Man. This was about a 24, 25 issue series that came out, drawn by Steve Oliff, written by Kurt Busiek. And it was 99 cents on the stands because comics had gone up and people were complaining. So they gave you a 99-cent alternative. The magic of this, you had Amazing Spider-Man #1 from the Silver Age. But when you got Untold Tales #1, it was actually 1.5. Then you had #2 of Amazing Spider-Man from the Silver Age. But when you bought this in the late 90s, #2 is actually 2.5. All these issues take place in between the Silver Age Spider-Man issues. And Kurt Busiek pulled it off very well. Showing these two very quickly. Marvel Age. I've gotten to the point where I'm digging the old comic readers, the old Amazing Heroes, the things you would pick up here and there to check out the comic book news, the old Wizards and stuff. So yeah, I'm down with the Marvel Age because they have interviews in them, and it's kind of cool to see what the release dates, the actual release dates were for some books. Number 20, another book that disappeared from Spawn, and for some reason, a book that has been very hard to find in the wild. So when I found this for $1, have Spawn Houdini, I think. I haven't read this in 30 years since it came out. 94. Greg Capullo is now on Spawn doing this stuff. Four very fun books because you know what? I was so much older then. I'm younger now by far. But I ended up getting this Mars Attacks, right? I've been getting into Mars Attacks. I reread a little. I pulled out the book of the Invasion crossover from Marvel, where the Dominators were basically the Martians from the 50s. I streamed one of the streaming channels. Man, I rewatched Mars Attacks by Tim Burton. I mean, I've always had a little thing here. I've got a Wonder Woman book from like the late 70s or early 80s where it's a thinly veiled alien from Mars and stuff like that. So, of course, when I run across Mars Attacks image from the 1995 with Bill Sienkiewicz doing the inks and Keith Giffen doing the story and Eric Larson edited it and apparently doing the covers, of course I want to get this. Let's get that glare off there, right? So you have some Gen 13, but yeah, all sorts of image people are in this because Mars is attacking Earth. There's your Witchblade and your Wildcats and stuff like that, right? For $1 piece, I will get these all day long. They have pinups inside, right in the middle of it, and they are all intact. And there's number 4 doing their best. Take your pick. You know what I mean? Take your pick. There's like 50 covers out here that are like this that are all inspired by Michelangelo. Michelangelo. Was it? I can't remember if it was a painting or a statue or anything right now. But anyway, I'll go with Crosses Inverse number 7, right? Putting it in there, right? Now, this book in particular was a regret because I did sell it, but I also bought it in the early 80s when number ones were really hard to come by. You did not get a lot of number ones in the early 80s, believe it or not. You got your Alpha Flight number 1, Batman the Outsiders number 1, which was actually the second or third Batman title to have a proper number 1. A lot of people don't know that, right? So when the number 1 would come out, and it was going to be an ongoing series, not a mini series or anything like that. It was real special, and I bought this off the stands. I was like, oh, look, because I'm a Wrath of Khan fan, So, DC from 1984, and I swear that this thing may have come out in 85, early 85, but here's DC's Star Trek number 1 when they got the license. Gold Key had the license. Marvel had the license. I think they did the movie adaptation. And then all of a sudden you got a proper ongoing series with Mike W. Barr and Tom Sutton of Charlton Comics fame. Doing this, and it's proper, and they actually look like you could tell who everybody was. I mean, I was like, is that George? I was suspecting it was George Perez doing the cover. Well, guess what? I guessed right. Even back then, I just found his signature. That's a George Perez cover. We all discovered that together just now because I bought this off the stand, had it laying around, floating around in my collection, got rid of it, and actually regretted it. I never knew that was a George Perez cover. Very glad I recouped it. It makes it even better. So this book was actually hot a little bit, right? In the glut of the 90s, a lot of books were coming out. A lot of companies were coming up. A lot of creator-owned indie stuff was out there. The terminology had gone from alternate comics to indie comics and stuff, right? And there's a guy named Joseph Linzer who had come out with, oh my God, why am I going blank? He had come out with this character. He had a thing for redheads. Why can I not think of her name? Anyway, so anytime there was a redheaded character, he would probably do like a pinup, or he ended up later in the years doing a couple of one-shots for Marvel and stuff. And I met him several times. I cannot believe I can't think of her name. But anyway, he did a cover for Justice League Quarterly. And this was actually a collectible for a while because Linsner was getting hot with his indie stuff, that he was doing. So to see him do some mainstream stuff, those fans would jump over there and grab that. Right. I now have completed my Hitman run by Garth Ennis from the 90s. I needed this annual, Pulp Heroes annual. If you like Garth Ennis, read Hitman. 60 issues plus an annual, one or two miniseries. There's 2 parts out there. And I got a new comic, a comic that is relatively new. I don't remember when it went, but I got it not only because it's a Mike Allred cover, but it is also a Crisis on the Infinite Earth, the second one, tribute cover, a second Crisis on the Infinite Earth tribute cover. I know how to get my money now, right? But yeah, this is Dark Crisis number 3. I will probably not read this, but I absolutely love this homage to Crisis on the Infinite Earth number 1. I think it is wonderful, beautiful. It's very cool. I'm just going to stick that in the Crisis on the Infinite Earth box that I have, right? This is Teen Titans for a little bit after the 1 year later leap, where we find out there's all kinds of new Titans out there, and then we get a first appearance of Zatara, who I think is supposed to be the daughter of Zatanna. I don't know. That's why I needed the book to figure out who this guy is. They say it's his first appearance, but the thing is that he was actually in Kingdom Come in the 90s, so that's why you can't trust some of these keys, collector apps and stuff, right? The way I remember it, he was in Kingdom Come first. I don't know. Anyway, and then I had to get this. This is, I don't know what volume Teen Titans this is, but it's number 32. But I was like struck by this Lobo cover. So pretty simple. Bought it for the cover for $1. And now I did the count. I'm going to have to go do the count. I want to have to see what I have proper and not count the variant covers. But this book was 50 issues long. And if you get on a Sale Z app or you look up how many issues of Immortal Hulk there are, it goes into the hundreds because of the variant covers. It blows my mind. I love little trivia like that. But the Immortal Hulk, this is number 44. It is another variant cover for number 44. But I need to see, I have 34 issues of Immortal Hulk that I have bought for $1 a piece in the flea markets over the last year and a half without even trying. And now I'm finding them in comic book conventions. I put 2 back because I already had them. I don't need any more doubles. But I'm going to say that I probably have 30 issues, a 30 issue run, if you will, of the Immortal Hulk, a very hot book that with a little patience and luck I have been finding for $1 a piece. So that cracks me up. This one I thought they were going to try to take away from me because the kid who was watching the boxes, these dollar boxes, stopped and looked at this and said, this wasn't the dollar box. I thought there was going to be a problem. And you just don't want to have a problem when somebody is holding this character because you will be inspired to start quoting the movie on them, and it might freak them out a little bit and stuff, right? But I got the movie adaptation from 1990, story by Frank Miller, Mark Bagley art, if you will, of RoboCop 2, the movie adaptation. I mean, how can you pass that up? It's square bound, and let's face it, the first 2 RoboCops are classics. The third one, I get a kick out of, Okay. Now, they had 4 of these, and I didn't even know these came out, and I'm wondering why they came out, because I don't think it was because of Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy still had about a year before it's coming out, but they had 4 of these with different covers, but they're all StarLord, and I just had to look, and it was different eras. Now, like I said, they didn't give me a deal like I wanted, so I ended up cutting my stuff in half. And I put 3 of them back, right? But apparently they came out with these oversized one-shots in 2013 of StarLord where they were reprinting his stories, I guess, chronologically as they came out, right? So this has the Marvel, I think it's a preview magazine stuff in it, black and white. And then we get some color StarLord stories from like 1980, I think, from John Byrne, Terry Austin, Chris Claremont. And then at the end of it, we get a little bit of Mike Golden stuff. So this stuff is reprinting everything, and it's very cool. but the covers are very deceptive, which is one of the reasons I think I may never had picked, heard about this. Because when you look at this, that's modern art making you think that it's going to be a modern story. They had 4 of these, so apparently there was enough material to take you all the way up until the early 2000s. Okay. I may back up and try to get those. I really love that older stuff, if you will. And then we got Deathmate here, right? I'm one of the few guys that enjoys Deathmate. I mean, you talk about the 90s doing crossovers, all the amalgamations. DC and Marvel merged their universe. Warren Ellis wrote a 2-3 part story where we had the Marvel universe and the Ultraverse merge and bring in all sorts of other characters in it on top of that. When Wildstorm and Extreme Studios, whatever it is, Jim Lee and Wildstorm and Extreme Studios. I think that's what he was. Rob Liefeld had a bunch of studios, but Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld ended up getting contracted out to do 4 Marvel titles to rejuvenate them for a year, and the Rob Liefeld half kind of dropped the ball. Well, they did the 13th issues, and they merged the Wildstorm universe with the Marvel universe. And then you had Deathmate, which was Wildstorm mostly, Rob Liefeld mostly, and Mark Silvestri, and when you had the Image books, they all sort of merged, and you came out with these 4 one-shots of Valiant Comics and Image coming together, And this is a preview issue. They had all kinds of little preview issues and things that fit in, and I think you have to read this one in particular. It's very thin. It was a free giveaway, a preview issue, I'm assuming. But you had to read this before you went into, I think it was Deathmate Red or something, which was Rob Liefeld's that took forever, I think. But I haven't laid my hands on this. I now have a complete set of the Deathmate stuff, all that stuff, right? Now, this one I got to do a little research on because this is hardware number 1. I dug Icon from the Milestone universe when it came out in the early 90s. HBO right now has this fantastic 1-hour documentary on Milestone Comics, that was put out and stuff, right? Highly recommend watching it. Absolutely loved it, right? But I think this is Dwayne McDuffie and Dennis Cohen, who's just fantastic artwork. And this is number 1. But the number 1s that I have does not have this cover. And it says this is a collectible item, right off the bat, trying to get this, right? So apparently this is a number 1 variant cover to hardware that I don't know a lot about. So it's going to be fun to find out what this is and where it came from and where you were supposed to get it back in the day, because you had hardware number 1, different cover. That different cover was also bagged, and I have a bagged one. I have an open one, and now I have this collectible one that I never knew was out there. I'm wondering if Milestone did that with some other stuff, right? Now, the Pulps. I have been reading a lot of Philip Jose Farmer during his Pulp era, trying to get caught up on the Wald Newton era of his work. I just got through reading The Peerless Peer, where Tarzan, the Spider, and the Shadow, and basically Sherlock Holmes and Tarzan meet. But there's little cameos if you know who the characters are, a little wink and a nudge of the Pulp Spider and the Pulp Shadow during World War One. Okay, so I'm digging all this Pulp stuff I'm running across, and all this Pulp stuff I'm reading with Doc Savage and what Philip Jose Farmer is doing and everything. Right, and I found this one shot of, I think it's from '95, of Ghost in the Shadow. This is so nice to have a one shot because I'm trying to get Grendel in the Shadow, and all I can find is book 1. I get online, and the other 2 books they go for big money or whatever, right? And now you're going to think that we're ending big here, right? Because I'm pulling out the Batman. I've saved the Batman for stuff for last year, right? That's how the stack worked out, man. But when you see what I ended up buying, and if you have read this, you're going to be like, what the hell were you thinking, Howler? What the hell? What were you doing? Right? I was having fun, So anyway, I may have I probably need 1 or 2 more issues, but I love books like Handbook of the Marvel Universe. I love books like Who's Who in the DC Universe, right? I love reference material, and I also love Secret Origin series like this. This is volume 3, I think. This started in the 80s. And they retell the origins of heroes. You get 2 apiece, sometimes 3. They redid, this thing ran for 50 issues. But this one actually ties into Detective Comics 604 at the time because the Mud Pack formed. They had several characters named Clayface, and they finally brought them all together to make the Mud Pack into a team, if you will. So yeah, good stuff in here, man. Good stuff in here. I'm pretty sure it even has some Keith Giffen art in there at the time, right? Batman '89. I got off. I don't know what happened. I got off. I went off the rails completing this series, and I missed two issues, number 6, and I want to say number 4. So I was very happy to find a number 6, 6-issue miniseries, 2 covers for each issue, and it picks up, with the Batman 1989, the Michael Keaton Batman. This continues the story, so I can finally sit down and read it after I get one more issue, number 4, I believe. Right? I guarantee, this is Sam Hamm. I think Sam Hamm is writing this. Yeah, Sam Hamm. Sam Hamm is the guy that wrote the first Batman movie, the first Tim Burton Batman movie, if you will. Right? And here we go, man. I have number 1 downstairs. I picked up a couple of these because they were the variant Frank Miller covers. Frank Miller gave us a lot of good years, people, right? So I will stick in there with Frank Miller on a lot of his stuff. I mean, I just will, he's become a staple. Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen. He didn't do Watchmen, but Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen are the 2 books that came out around the, relatively same time back in the day. And it's the 2 books that I wish I could totally wipe my brain and be able to read them again to have those feelings when I was reading them. Because when I was reading them, I was like, this is magic. I'd already been reading comics for like 8 years or something when those books came out. And when I finally got around to reading them, it was just a whole new level of endorphins or something. I don't know. Never been duplicated except with those 2 books, right? So when he came out with All-Star Batman and Robin, everybody was excited because Frank Miller has come back from Hollywood and he's decided to do some more Batman. And right off the bat, everybody is like, what the hell is he doing? He's kidnapping kids, Robin, and talking to them like they're going to be soldiers. So he's being very mean to them. I think he made Dick Grayson to eat rats in the Batcave. He's referring to himself as the GD Batman. He makes other heroes look like idiots in this. Black Canary's, I think, a bartender owns a bar, and they end up making out on a dock out in the middle of Gotham at night. And the one that I ended up stopping reading the book when Green Lantern popped up again, and you had Batman. He was in a room where he painted everything yellow. He had on a yellow Batman costume, and he was drinking yellow lemonade. And I was like, I'm out. But still don't know what he was trying to do. And meanwhile, Jim Lee, who's doing fantastic art on this, he's knocking it out of the ballpark. He's telling people this is the best work I've ever done, and he's really trying to carry the book and push it. And it's supposed to go 12 issues, and we got 10. So I got rid of them, and then I keep going back. So I just went ahead and I got 2 through 8. So now I have number 1 through 8. I have a couple of variant covers that are done by Frank Miller, the Frank Miller covers. So I saw these and I was like, yeah, let's just do this. Right? So I have some great Jim Lee art, and I have I get the Mystery Science Theater these, right? Oh man, even the way Batgirl talks, man, she brags about being able to bullshit her dad. That's what she actually says. I do a good job at bullshitting my dad, Commissioner Gordon. Yeah, so all this stuff. Black Canary's big on it. I'm a huge Black Canary fan. I'm a huge Zatanna fan, and I'm not gonna lie, man, it's the fishnet, And then, if I remember right, it was around right here. I probably quit back in the day, which is ironic because, like I said, I found the very issues I had. But I think this one is the one where the Joker is actually a little bit sexual, if I remember right. And he walks out of a room and he's left a dead hooker behind him. And he looks at his blonde-haired lackey who goes topless with if you read Dark Knight Returns, you'll recognize her, right? He sort of gave a call back, showed that she'd been with the Joker for a long time. And he's just sitting there like, get rid of it. And that's it. And I was just sitting here like, he pulled in dead hookers. I mean, he went full Sin City on this. But anyway, yeah, number 8. So, yeah, I am laughing about it. I am not trying to sing the praises of this book, but like I said, Jim Lee did what he could, and we still don't know what Frank Miller was doing. So there you go, man. So anyway, what do we have here? John C. was here. Warsmith Scotty was here. Niobe Comics was here. The Brain popped in. And you can go check out Brain, see if he's wherever he's working an auction at. I'm just going to assume it's live on YouTube somewhere, or maybe Instagram. I don't know. So you guys have a wonderful weekend. I am going to, again, try to unwind. I might read some Thor issues. I think I want to get a little bit of water, take a shower, and try to go to bed. And probably sleep in tomorrow. All right. Be excellent to each other.